So, welcome to Joe's Corner. Today I'm going to talk about the serious consequences of your actions and the things that you say can have worldly devastating effects, good or bad. So, I'm going to give a few examples. I just been doing articles about Robert Tiglo. I think it's how you pronounce his name. And one of my first YouTube channels that I did, I wrote about him. It was my first one. His article was so ridiculous on why China was better than America and why America had completely, utterly fallen, which is not true. This last election has already proved in America that the system put in place worked. And he was trying to make an argument that Filipinos should embrace China and get rid of America. He's not the only one doing that here. He's not the only paid Chinese spokesman. Unfortunately, John Cena, right, who had a lot of hopes for WWE act and whatever it is, he went down to Taiwan where his movie was going to premiere first, the new Fast and Furious movie. He said, "You guys are the first country to see my movie." Well, it made China mad because they're trying to say Taiwan is theirs. Taiwan does not belong to China. They can say it all they want. They don't occupy there. They don't make any rules. They do not govern. There's no two system of things. Taiwan disputes this repeatedly. So he went and he apologized to the Chinese people. This is why I like BTS. I wasn't a fan of BTS until I read this article. So BTS during the Korean War anniversary, this last one, went out and wanted to thank the American soldiers who fought with the Korean soldiers. And BTS went and made this great argument, right, about the sacrifices that both made for the freedom of Korea. Well, a lot of people in China says, "Oh, I'm gonna start banning BTS now. I'm gonna get rid of BTS because Chinese people were upset, especially ones that were from the Korean War, because their feelings were hurt. BTS didn't apologize, and rightfully so. I didn't realize it, but BTS is a bunch of smart boys. They're smarter than they come off as a boy band. They're politically well read, I could say, right? So unlike John Cena, BTS didn't apologize. You don't want to sell our music? That's fine. Whatever. Big deal, right? So here's another thing, too. This has just happened in the Philippines, which is a shame. So the Philippines did win their arbitrary dispute with China in the West Philippine Sea because China is illegally occupying Philippine land and sea. They're building things they shouldn't be building. Now they're dumping human waste and they're destroying coral. That's what happens. China destroyed a lot of their waters already, and so they're having to fish in Philippine waters, right? So now, here's the problem: is that where President Duterte didn't have his most brilliant moment, he's not going to be known by a lot of people, even his best followers, his most loyal fans. Like, you shouldn't have said this. So basically, he said it was just a piece of paper. Now there's some vice president, I think, came out, and there's some other congressmen saying, "Hey, there's evidence coming out of China that they're saying that the paper is just a piece of paper. They don't got to listen." Now there's some Chinese congressmen apparently over there that they're equivalent to a congressman, right? Saying that they helped Duterte win the election. Whether it's true or not, you can find that out on your own. I'm not going to get into that part. You should be able to smart enough to figure things out for yourself after looking at all the evidence. And then maybe that's the problem. So Duterte said these things. Now he's scrambling, right? Because it could hurt him this next election. Now he wants to run for vice president. So Duterte comes out and he says, "I need to be vice president, so I'm immune to lawsuits." He's worried about this ICC, this International Criminal Court lawsuit coming in for his deals on drugs. Me personally, I don't like drug dealers. I think they're scum of the earth. I think once you start dealing drugs, you're no longer human as it is. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I feel, right? So here's the problem. When you, as a human being, and you are a star figure, like the president of the Philippines, or even John Cena, a star figure, movie star, a WWE star, action star, if you want to call it that. When you say these things, and I understand John Cena just wants to be fair on his side, he just wants a WWE market in China. He went to Shanghai, and I watched his interview that he did, and he's talking about how vast China is. And I've been in China myself. And I also want to make it very clear that there's a difference between the Chinese government and the Chinese people. There's a lot of Chinese people that don't like the Chinese government. So John Cena just thinks that the WWE can make good money in China. Okay? There's other ways you could do this. But at the same time, you cannot sell democracy principles out the door in favor of communism. And that's actually what's starting to happen. At one time, we thought we defeated communism when Russia fell. But unfortunately, it's making a big, strong comeback. And now there's a lot of Filipinos that hate Americans. It used to be they never wanted to rent the Chinese, but now it's harder for Americans to find a place to live in the Philippines now. More and more Filipinos want to go over to China. And part of the problem was Trump. A lot of policies Trump failed. A lot of it was America didn't do the things they were supposed to do. And don't get me wrong, America is not the out of the woods yet. They have responsibilities that they didn't attend to that they should have. But not every American is a weed smoking gunslinger, no more than every person in China loves communism and the things it does. Now, it's once said that communism on paper is probably the perfect form of government, but it's just corruptible. And that's part of the problem in China is this mass corruption. So when this virus broke out in China, they were nailing a lot of people inside their apartments. They were killing a lot of their own citizens. Matter of fact, when the first doctor reported the cases, China had a chance to stop it and send everything they had over there, but they didn't. President Xi was more worried about people talking bad about him and his influence, and he was more worried about his image than he was his people. That's not a good world leader. And now it's costed the lives of everybody around the world. And apparently, even in China now, they're going to start doing new lockdowns because this new Delta variant. Personally, I think this is coming from God, where things are going, where all these floods are going, where all these tornadoes and heat waves. This is the biblical end. Whether you want to believe it or not, too bad. It's the biblical end. And a lot of it has to do with the little things we do as human beings. You see, we should be promoting the right things in life. So John Cena said, hey, you know what? Taiwan is a country, and if China's that upset, then maybe the WWE shouldn't go there. Because the WWE is all about democracy. The WWE promotes this freedom. It's this basic idea. We come from America. We come from Britain. We come from Canada. We come from France. There's people from France. We're not going to sell out to democracy to make a buck. And what I was upset with, so people knew what John Cena said. People heard John Cena's apology to China about Taiwan. So John Cena goes into the ring, and you hear this big cheer. And WWE just started allowing crowds to come back, and I think that's going to be a big mistake. It's coming back to bite a lot of people now, right? And so people were cheering John Cena. They couldn't wait for him to come back. So you got Americans selling out democracy. You shouldn't have cheered John Cena. You didn't think about your consequences. That's what I'm trying to get through to people. You didn't think. You're not thinking. And not thinking is what's killing this world. Not being able to criticize yourself for your actions and things you say is what's killing this world. I'm sorry, but it is. So what I mean is, when John Cena came out, everybody should have booed him. And everybody had a sign that said, Taiwan's a country, long live democracy. John Cena needed to see those fans and what they supported. So when John Cena had came out and you all cheered for him, you inadvertently cheered for China. So when John Cena apologized to China by saying that Taiwan wasn't a country, when you all cheered for John Cena, you promoted the CCP. You promoted the very thing that's killing off the world right now. That's what you did as a WWE fan. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. There is no different opinion on this. There is no third opinion. There is no disagreement. This is a linear timeline of things that happened. This is what you promoted as a human being because you did not stop and think. None of you did. Now, they have this island in the Philippines called Palawan. It's one of the most beautiful places in the Philippines. It's one of the few places that should never be tore up or dug. Unfortunately, it's also might be oil rich. It's very fish rich. China wants it. It's also where a lot of foreigners are too. A lot of white national foreigners, a lot of British, a lot of Americans, a lot of Canadians, even Chinese. There's a lot of Chinese down there that live there. Now you got Chinese warships all year long that have been going down there in waters they know damn well it ain't theirs. And meanwhile, people like Robert Tiglow, who's promoting China, thinks that it's okay. It's okay. And it's not. So my thing to you as a human being, what are you promoting? What are you promoting as a human being? What are your core values as a human being? Do you promote democracy, or do you promote the same CCP that locks people in its rooms? And don't get me wrong, I was very upset with Trump and the way he handled things. And I compared Trump in another video I did long before any news source did. I have it on record. Matter of fact, I put some videos on a different site other than YouTube where I compared side by side comparison to the Third Reich because that's what was going on. I was one of the first people to see it. Y'all didn't listen. I was one of the first people to say, hey, there's a virus going around. I started telling people that in that December. I think it was 2019. Yeah, I was telling people in December, look, I'm watching videos coming out of China that people are posting. Some people are sending it to me in an email. I said, hey, there's a problem coming. As soon as it gets on an airplane and travels, we're all screwed. Nobody listened. Nobody cared. Nobody planned. Nobody saved food. And all the food I saved up had to go to everybody. Everything that I was trying to save up so I can survive, I had to help a lot of people. A lot of people that didn't listen that could have helped themselves. That's the sad part. And so now, the thing I'm trying to tell you, not as just an American, as a Filipino, not just as a Filipino, but as a person that believes in fundamental rights as a human being and democracy, what are your core values as a human being? What is it that you're promoting? And did you think about any kind of consequences for the things that you're saying and doing because of that? Because I'm telling you right now, if China thinks there's enough Filipinos that promotes China, they will no longer going to obey Coast Guard rules. When the Coast Guard says you're in our waters, you need to leave, China says, no, apparently this is our waters now. Your own newspapers are saying this is our waters. Because of people like Robert Tiglo didn't think. Because of people like Robert Tiglo, Philippine fishermen can't fish in their own waters. And the primary food source of the Philippines, rice and fish. They love fish. Some of the fish here is actually delicious. But it's going to become less and less every year now because of people like him and John Cena and because of the fans of the WWE who didn't think about their actions. You only saw a short term and you didn't think. That's what you are in America right now. Half of America ain't thinking. So I ask again, what are you promoting as a human being?